Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Open eCry market commentary for the week of February 25th. My name is Toby Gennaro from Trade with Precision, and just coming to you this week with the market outlook. And here we are on the S&P 500, looking at the ES futures contracts and starting with some of the higher time frames like the monthly chart. Pretty much the same story it's been for the last, roughly 4 months. Higher highs, higher lows. We made a move last week as we were talking on the commentary last week into that 1530 level. I was looking right around 1535. We actually got the pullback at 1530. And so as you can see on the daily chart, had a little indecisive candle there set up at the close of last week. Really don't have a lot of overextension over the in the weekly chart here, but if we were to get a pullback around this level, we'd be looking somewhere around that level around 1468, and that would be pretty steep from where we are currently. But as we go down to the daily chart, we can obviously see after the pullback from last week, have a little setup candle there in the buy zone amongst that 10 and 20 period moving average, and then just got a break of that candle on Friday last week, and then looks like we're going to be pushing up higher, at least into that 1530 level. So as we look at the 480 chart, not a whole new story here. Just can see a little better that pullback, moving averages rolling over, but with the daily chart break of that high, that candle looks like we're going to be pushing right back up into the most recent high, and then we should see those moving averages then turning back up, getting back up into alignment where we have the 200, the 50, the 20, and the 10, and then start that fanning out picture again. So things overall looking very bullish on the S&P 500. And turning then to the small cap stocks on the Russell contract, looking at, again, the higher time frames, higher highs, higher lows on the monthly chart. We broke that, had that flat level setting up here for quite a few months, and finally got the fourth touch and the break of that level, and moved fairly sharply up, really looking for, at some point, a pullback to retest this, this 860 level. But moving over then to the weekly chart, very similar to the ES, have an indecisive candle there at the top after a series of months of green candles. Slightly indecisive candle there. Not really anticipating necessarily, I don't think, a pullback to this, all the way back down to the 867 level just yet. But as we look at the daily chart, we can see that same setup that we had on the ES contract. So I had that sharp pullback last week. I was looking at this level of right around 911, but we actually came down and put in that retracement right back down to that 900 level. So it looks like we're getting a bounce off there. We've got a trend flow set up just like on the ES chart, and we have a setup candle here, the break of the high of that candle, and it looks like we're going to push up and retest that 930 level. And so nothing different here on the 480 chart. Again, it's like the ES chart's looking like we're going to be moving higher back up to retest that level. And we're going to have the moving averages more than likely moving back up and then getting back up into that fanning out pattern that we've been looking at for quite some time. So things looking very bullish there on the small cap stocks, and very bullish on the Russell Index contract. And taking a look at one final currency pairing here, looking at the dollar CAD, some of the higher time frames up here again, pretty choppy here on the monthly chart. Just looking over the past, quite a number of months, we've been in this range between 105 and then somewhere between the low of 95, and more recently right around that low of around 97. But as we move over to the weekly chart, we can see we've got some higher highs, higher lows here on the weekly chart. Got quite a bit of extension actually from the moving averages on the weekly chart, and the same thing on the daily chart. So we'll actually be looking for potentially a pullback in maybe this into this one level right here. Let me see if I can get a line drawn in there for you. And if we get a pullback back into that level, we'd be looking for that pullback then right back into the buy zone between that 10 and 20 period moving average on the daily chart, and then looking at the 480 chart. I've had a number of setups here along this move, and so even a pullback into some of these levels, like right around that 101 level. Looking for some setup candles in the buy zone as the moving averages continue to push up and catch up near the price, and see if we're going to get some kind of a consolidation here, or actually going to get the pullback, which would then be reflected probably on the daily chart as well as a little deeper pullback scenario. But keep an eye out for the 480, the 240, and the 120-minute charts. There have been some great setups along this trend that have been pulling back in there and giving you a nice trend flow setup with with some of those setup candles. So take a look at that one on the dollar CAD and see what you think about that. But it's looking very bullish on some of the time frames below the weekly charts. And that's the wrap up for the markets this week. We'd like to thank you for watching the Open Cry market commentary, and we do look forward to speaking to you next week on the market update.